Mr. Chair, we're live.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and I'd like to call this Development Services Committee meeting to order. Councillors Hutchison and Shell are attending remotely for tonight's meetings, and by way of housekeeping matters, before reading the land acknowledgement, please be sure to silence your cell phones while in chambers, particularly those of you who are in the audience. Members of the public speaking at the podium and council members before addressing council, please take time to adjust your microphone so you're speaking clearly and directly into the microphone. Excuse me. The Township of Oro-Medonte acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people and the ancestral territory of the Huron-Wendat. The Anishinaabe include the Ottawa, the Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. It continues today as home for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the historic Métis community in Penetanguishene. The Anishinaabe continue to have an enduring relationship with this land, specifically the Chippewas of Rama First Nation, the Chippewa Tri-Council, and the Williams Treaty First Nations. The Huron-Wendat Nation also continues to pay respect and protect their ancestors and heritage on this land. We honor the Indigenous history and culture that has thrived for millennia in this territory and the treaties that bind us together as partners in the spirit of a shared, sustainable, and prosperous future. We are all treaty people. Our commitment begins with acknowledging the truth so we can move forward towards reconciliation. May we have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Bard. It is recommended that the agenda for the Development Services Committee meeting of Wednesday, February 5th, 2025 be received and approved as amended to add as item 8C, Brent Spagno, Director, Development Services, George Vadaboncourt, Manager, Special Projects Planning, Relitigation affecting the municipality, Solicitor Client Privilege, Short-Term Rentals, STRs.
Thank you very much. All in favor? The motion is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest tonight?
Yes, Councillor Shell.
Oh, yes, please, Councillor Shell. And
yes, item 5C, Lucas. Lucas is a contractor that I work with, so I'm going to declare conflict of interest there. And item 8C, short-term rentals. I own and operate a legal short-term rental in Oro-Medonte Township, so I'm going to declare.
okay.
I'll leave the camera and off during that session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Excuse me. May we have a motion to approve the draft minutes of the previous Development Services Committee meeting?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Shell. It is recommended that the draft minutes of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, January 15, 2025 be received and approved as printed and circulated.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions with regard to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? The motion is passed. Okay, with regard to public meetings, the first meeting here tonight is and there are three of them. It will be the public meeting with regard to application 2024 ZBA 18. The name is North. The applicant is Northern Diversified Limited, and the municipal address is 10 Line 12 North. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment application 2024 ZBA 18, submitted by Northern Diversified Limited on lands municipally known as Line as 10 line 12 north. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the zoning bylaw amendment application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been communication received on this item?
Yes, correspondence received from Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, January 14, Enbridge Gas, January 14, Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, January 16, and Building Division, January 22, Ministry of Transportation, dated January 23, and County of Simcoe Planning Department, dated January 30, 2025.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll turn the meeting presentation over to Morgan Planning and Development, the planning consultants working on behalf of the owners on this development proposal.
Thank you very much. Please proceed. I think we're just waiting to connect with the audio for those who are listening in the stream.
Mr. Pock has unmuted. Mr. Pock, if you could test your audio, please.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can now. Thank you very much, Mr. Pock. Please proceed with your presentation.
Perfect. Thank you. Just took a little bit for me to get connected there. So thank you and good evening. My name is Jonathan Pock. I'm here on behalf of our client, Bruce North, the owner of the subject property located at 10 Line 12 North. And here on behalf of our client related to application number 2024 ZBA 18. Next slide, please. The subject property is shown on the screen in front of you here, generally located to the west of Highway 11 and generally southeast of the East Oro settlement area. Next slide, please. The subject property, as mentioned, is located on the west side of Highway 11. The severed and residential lands have an approximate lot area, lot frontage of 90.5 meters of frontage onto line 12 and have an approximate lot area of 1.1 hectares. The severed lands that are to be severed from the balance of the agricultural lands are currently developed with a 2-story single detached dwelling, and the retained agricultural land has approximately 260 meters of frontage onto line 12 and have a lot area of approximately 37.7 hectares. There are a few agricultural buildings, which I'll show in the following slide, to be located on the larger agricultural lot. Next slide, please. This is an aerial image of the subject property. As mentioned, it is directly abutting Highway 11. The existing buildings and structures are shown in the small inset map. The single detached dwelling kind of located on the right-hand side of the existing barns, and the larger agricultural structures to the rear of the existing single detached dwelling. Next slide, please. Currently, the subject property is designated in the township's official plan as agricultural and green lands. The agricultural designation permits severances for the purposes of surplus farm dwelling severances, which I will describe the application was subject to previously. The subject property is zoned currently as agricultural rural in the township zoning bylaw, and there is a small piece of environmental protection in the western corner of the subject property. I'd just like to note that that portion of the property that is zoned environmental protection is to continue to be rezoned, or is to continue to be zoned environmental protection, and is not proposed to be removed from the agricultural rural zone. Next slide, please. This is just an excerpt of the sketch of the provisionally approved consent application that was approved by the Township's Committee of Adjustment. The green lot is the smaller severed lot. So this lot is to be used for rural residential purposes. There is no new development proposed on this lot. Just like to draw your attention to the smaller map on the right-hand side, indicating the location of the existing single detached dwelling, as well as the septic system, and that would be entirely contained on the severed lot. The larger yellow lot is the larger retained lot. That parcel is to contain some of the existing agricultural buildings as well as the farmland, and is to be consolidated and added to our clients' other agricultural land holdings within the township. Next slide, please. This is just a draft reference plan describing the severed lot, so that smaller green lot to be used as rural residential purposes. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, there was a consent application that was conditionally approved by the Development Services Committee, or the Township's Committee of Adjustment, rather, back in April of 2024. A condition of that approval pertained to rezoning the severed and retained lots. The severed lot would be rezoned to recognize that rural residential use, as well as the larger retained lot would be rezoned to prohibit any residential uses on that property, to ensure that it remains only used for agricultural purposes and would not be, in that farmland would not be removed or developed on. Next slide, please. This is just a sketch showing the proposed zoning amendment schedule. Again, the smaller residential lot shown in the gray would be rezoned to the rural residential 2 zone, and the larger agricultural parcel would be rezoned to an agricultural rural exception zone, which again would prohibit any residential uses on that parcel. Next slide, please. As part of our application, we did submit a full planning justification report addressing all the applicable planning policies. Next slide, please. And just in summary, again, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application that's being heard this evening is for to rezone as part, rezone the parcel to rural residential zone as well as an agricultural rural zone. And the purpose of the application is to satisfy a condition that was implemented by the Township's Committee of Adjustment, where they provisionally approved the surplus farm dwelling severance. We have reviewed the staff report that was included in this evening's agenda, and we agree with staff's recommendation to approve the application and bylaw. Can make myself available for any questions or comments that committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Pock. Just hold on the line for a moment. Mr. Karaskakis, did you have anything further to add to this presentation?
No, Mr. Chair, I have nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you very much. Committee members, any questions or comments? And none online from our streaming counselors? Okay. Is there anyone scheduled or registered to speak to this matter via Zoom?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, and for the record, there is no one here in chambers in the audience, so there's obviously no one's going to be speaking to the matter here. Did we receive any further communications during the course of the meeting, Mr. Karaskakis?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received. Thank you
very much. with that, I presume this gets closed by a motion at the end of the meeting. Okay, thank you very much, and we'd like to thank everyone. I would like to thank you, Mr. Pock, for your presentation, and for those in attendance for your participation, and we'll deal with the matter later on in the back end of this meeting. So thank you very much. Yes, we're able to move on to the next item. Also, I believe, Mr. Pock, I guess you're dealing with this one, but first of all, let me proceed. This is application 2024-ZBA-19, 2520309 Ontario, Inc. The applicant is Northern Diversified Limited, and the municipal address is 159 11 North. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the zoning bylaw application 2024-ZBA-19 submitted by Northern Diversified Limited on lands municipally known as 159 Line 11 North. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the zoning bylaw amendment application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been communication received on this matter?
Correspondence has been received from Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, January 14, Enbridge Gas, January 14, Ministry of Transportation, January 15, Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, January 16, and Building Division, January 22, and County of Simcoe Planning Department, dated January 28, 2025.
Thank you very much. Mr. Karaskakis, am I proceeding to Mr. Pock?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Polk, the agent acting on behalf of the applicants, who will prepare a presentation regarding the zoning bylaw amendment application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Pock, you may proceed.
Thank you. Again, Jonathan Pock, Senior Planner at Morgan Planning and Development, here on behalf of our client, Mr. North, who's the owner of the subject property located at 159 Line 11 North. And also here on behalf, just in regards to application 2024 ZBA 19. Next slide, please. The subject property is shown on the screen in front of you, generally located on the north side of Highway 11. Next slide, please. Similar to the previous application, this is a implementing zoning bylaw amendment application as part of a surplus farm dwelling severance. The severed residential lot has an approximate lot frontage of 45 meters onto line 11 and has a lot area of approximately 0.5 hectares. Severed lands are developed with a single detached dwelling that's serviced by a well and septic. The retained agricultural land has approximately 215 meters of frontage onto line 11 north and has a lot area of approximately 21 hectares. The barn that's currently on the larger agricultural lot is used for the storage of hay. Next slide, please. This is just a aerial image of the existing development on the subject property. As you can see, the existing single detached dwelling accessed by a driveway, as well as the agricultural barn located at the rear of the property, kind of in the central portion. Next slide, please. Subject property is designated agricultural in the township's zoning bylaw, as shown on the image on the right. Again, severances for the purposes of surplus farm dwelling severances are permitted in the agricultural designation, subject to an implementing zoning bylaw amendment to ensure that the larger retained parcel remains in agricultural production, is protected for agricultural uses. The image on the left shows that the subject property is currently zoned agricultural and rural in the zoning bylaw. There might be a little sliver of environmental protection on the northern portion, but again, that portion of the property is to remain zoned EP. Next slide, please. This is just an image of the provisionally approved consent application. The smaller green lot would be the lot that would be rezoned to the rural residential 2 zone and would recognize the existing rural residential use on that property and contain the existing single detached dwelling, the well, as well as the septic system located at the rear of the property. The larger yellow lot, or the retained lot, would be is proposed to remain in agricultural production. And again, the zoning bylaw amendment would seek to rezone that portion in yellow to an agricultural rural exception zone to prohibit any residential development. And that larger retained parcel would be added to our client's current land holdings, agricultural parcels in the township. Next slide, please. Kind of touched on this already, but the purpose of the zoning amendment is to implement a condition that was implemented by the township's committee of adjustment. And one of the conditions was that the severed and retained lots be rezoned accordingly to recognize the existing rural residential use, as well as to prohibit the residential uses on the larger agricultural parcel. Next slide, please. This is just the proposed zoning amendment schedule. Again, the smaller severed lot shown in gray would be rezoned to a rural residential 2 zone that would recognize that rural residential use being the single detached dwelling. And the larger retained lots shown in the cross hatching would be rezoned to an exception or agricultural rural exception zone to prohibit any future residential uses and to protect that agricultural land and ensure that it remains in agricultural production. Next slide, please. As part of our application, there was a full planning justification report submitted. We also provided documentation demonstrating that the agricultural parcel would be added to our clients' additional land holdings throughout the township. Next slide, please. Again, in summary, there's as part of the zoning amendment seeks to satisfy a condition of consent that was implemented by the township's committee of adjustment, and the surplus farm dwelling severance that was applied for previously seek to sever off the existing dwelling and create a small rural residential lot, as well as the larger retained lot being continued to be used as an agricultural purposes. The zoning amendment seeks to satisfy that condition, as well as ensure consistency with the applicable planning documents. I can make myself available if there are any questions or comments on the application, but that concludes my presentation. And we have also reviewed the staff report and recommendation to approve the application. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pock. Any commentary from staff on this matter?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments from committee members? No, seeing none. Anyone registered to speak to this matter via Zoom?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
And once again, there being no one here in chambers other than the staff and council members or committee members. So the committee wishes to thank everyone for their participation tonight. And a copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during this meeting in regard to the application. So thank you very much. We'll take about a 5-minute break while we wait for the next. Oh, can we move ahead to the next item?
No, Mr. Chair, but if a committee would like to look into addressing reports of
certainly.
municipal officers, starting with 7A.
Very, very useful suggestion. Thank you. So, Madam Deputy Clerk, may we have a motion for item 7A, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Hutchison. It is recommended, one, that DS 2025-010, Andy Karaskakis, Manager, Planning Services, Rezoning Bylaw Amendment Application 2024 ZBA 18, Northern Diversified Limited, 10 Line 12 North, be received and adopted. Two, that zoning bylaw amendment application 2024 ZBA 18, specifically to rezone the severed lands from the agricultural rural ARU zone to the rural residential 2 RU-R2 zone, to recognize the rural residential use of the severed parcel, and to rezone the retained lands from the agricultural rural ARU zone to the agricultural rural exception 367 ARU 367, to prohibit residential uses on lands municipally known as 10 Line 12 North, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved. 3, that the appropriate draft bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration, and 4, that the applicant be advised of the committee's decision under the Director of Development Services signature.
Thank you very much. Any comments on the motion from any members of the committee? Seeing none, may I call the vote? Those in favor? The motion is carried. So, Madam Deputy Clerk, may we have the motion for item 7B?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Young. It is recommended, one, that DS 2025-011, Andy Karaskakis, Manager, Planning Services, Rezoning Bylaw Amendment Application 2024 ZBA 19, 2520309, Ontario Inc., 159 Line 11 North, be received and adopted. 2, that zoning bylaw amendment application 2024 ZBA 19, specifically to rezone the severed lands from the agricultural rural ARU zone to the rural residential 2 RU-R2 zone, to recognize the rural residential use of the severed parcel, and to rezone the retained lands from the agricultural rural ARU zone to the agricultural rural exception 368 ARU 368, to prohibit residential uses on lands municipally known as 159 Line 11 North, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved. 3, that the appropriate draft bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration, and 4, that the applicant be advised of the committee's decision under the Director, Development Services signature.
Thank you very much. Members of the committee, any comments or questions with regard to the motion? Seeing none and none online. May I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. And thank you very much, Mr. Pock, if you're still online, for your help tonight.
Thank you, Chair. Have a good evening.
Okay. With that, we'll just pause for a couple of minutes while we wait for our next agenda item.
Camera off now.
Okay.
Going with 7C right now, or 5C?
Yes, we will presently at 6 o'clock, Councillor Schell.
Okay, I just see it up on the screen here.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you want to turn off your camera and silence your microphone, that would be perfect. Thank you.
I will do. Thank you.
There we are. Okay, this is a public meeting with regard to application number 2024 ZBA 17. Lucas. The applicants are Brenda and Anthony Lucas, and the municipal address is 560 Line 8 North. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment application 2024 ZBA 17, submitted by Brenda and Anthony Lucas on lands municipally known as 560 Line 8 North. Please be advised that the hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and the requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the zoning bylaw amendment application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Fire and Emergency Services, January 17, and Bridge Gas, dated January 21, Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, dated January 21, and Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division, dated January 22, 2025.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. McCarroll, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. The subject property is located at 560 Line 8 North. The property is zoned Rural Residential 2 and designated Greenlands in the Township's official plan, and the current use of the property is residential. Next slide. The purpose of the application is to rezone the subject lands from the Rural Residential 2 zone to a Rural Residential 2 exception zone to permit the change of use of an existing temporary garden suite into an oversized detached accessory building with an apartment dwelling unit. The site-specific zoning bylaw would establish the following zone provisions. So section 5.1.1, permit an apartment in an accessory building. Section 5.1.3a, permit an accessory building in the front yard, approximately 15.39 meters from the front lot line. Section 5.1.6, permit an increased floor area of 87.6 square meters. Section 5.4, allow the apartment to be located in an accessory building. And then section 5.4c, permit an increased floor area of the apartment of 87.6 square meters. Next slide. This is the applicant's site plan. The existing garden suite is outlined in red, and it's proposed to be converted into an accessory building with an apartment dwelling unit. And the existing dwelling is at the bottom of the image, along with their existing shop. Next slide. These are the current floor plans for the garden suite. So they're not proposing any changes to the building as part of this application. Next slide. The photo on the left shows an aerial image of the property. The building that is subject to this application has the brown roof, and that's on the north side of the property. And then the dwelling and the shop have the gray roofs, and they're in the middle of the property. And then the photo on the right-hand side shows the public notice sign that was posted in accordance with the Planning Act. Next slide. The map on the left shows that the entire property is currently zoned Rural Residential 2. The map in the middle shows that the entire property is proposed to be rezoned to include an exception zone to permit the site-specific provisions that would allow an apartment in an oversized detached accessory building. And the map on the right-hand side shows that the property is located adjacent to unevaluated wetland, watercourse, and floodplain. Next slide. So these are photos looking both north and south along Line 8 North. Next slide. The photo on the left-hand side shows that the existing single detached dwelling, and then the photo on the right-hand side shows the existing detached accessory buildings that are on the subject lands. Next slide. These are photos of the existing garden suite that's proposed to be converted into an oversized detached accessory building with an apartment. Next slide. And these photos are of the natural heritage features that are located adjacent to the subject lands. And I just want to point out that we did receive comments from the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority in support of the application. Next slide. This concludes staff's presentation. There will be no decision made at tonight's meeting. The purpose was simply to receive public comments. A report will be brought forward to a future meeting, and I am available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCarroll. Now ask the applicant, Brenda Lucas, who is registered to speak to the application, if she wishes to provide any additional comments or indicate anything further to be added to the staff presentation. Ms. Lucas, please.
I don't have any additional comments. I was just on if you had any questions for me.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Committee members, do you have any comments or questions for Ms. Lucas? Okay, seeing none. We'll be sailing right through, I think. Is there anyone registered to speak to this matter via Zoom?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, and for the purposes of the record, I will note that the chambers are not, there's no one from the public present in the chambers. Is there any additional correspondence received during the course of the meeting?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing additional has been received.
Okay, thank you very much. Just 1 second. Okay, so with that, closes the public meeting, and the committee would like to thank all those in attendance for their participation, and thank you, Ms. Lucas. And a copy of the decision will be mailed out, and a report will be submitted by staff for a public hearing at a future date. With that, this meeting is closed, and we can move on to the next matter on the agenda. And Councillor Schell, if you want, oh, there you are. Thank you very much. Okay, we have a few minutes pause while we wait for the next item on the agenda. Application 2025A02 Silma. The applicant is Linda Silma. The municipal address is 149 8 Mile Point Road. This is a public hearing. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application 2025A02, submitted by Linda Silma on lands municipally known as 149 8 Mile Point Road. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been any correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division dated January 20, Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority January 28, Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division dated January 29, and Harriet and Chris Jameson dated January 31, 2025.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Yubing Fan, planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. Fan, please.
Thank you, Ms. Chair Lava. Minor variance application. Hello? Hello? Minor. Hello?
We're just having a little microphone issue here for a moment, but we're correcting the audio. Thank you very much. Are you
Okay.
okay?
I
Looks like
think,
we're
yes,
ready to
Mac is
proceed.
working now.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Minor variance application 2025 802 is applied for the property located at 149 8 Mile Point Road. The property is zoned shoreline residential and designated shoreline in the township's official plan. The current use of the property is residential. Next slide, please. The image on the left-hand side is an aerial photo of the property. The photo was taken last year, and all the structures have been demolished after that, so the property is currently vacant. The image on the right-hand side shows that a public notice sign has been posted on the subject property. Next, please. This slide presents the purpose of the application. The applicant is proposing to construct a detached accessory building, a garage. And now the applicant is seeking relief from section 5.1.3a and d of the zoning bylaw for the subject structure. Next, please. This slide shows us the site plan, and the proposed detached garage is outlined in red. Next, please. So here we have a more detailed site plan. We can see that the proposed garage would have a similar front lot line setback as the garage on the adjacent property. We can also see that there's a wide road allowance between the property line and the edge of the road. Next, please. This slide shows us elevation drawings of the garage. Next, please. These two drawings show the floor plan and foundation plan of the garage. Next, please. These two pictures show the views looking east and west along 8 Mile Point Road. Next, please. This photo was taken for the subject property from the edge of the road. The structure at the right side of the photo behind a tree is the garage on the adjacent property, which has a similar front lot line setback. So the proposed garage will in line with that garage and located on the left-hand side of the subject property. Next, please. This is another photo taken from the road for the neighbor's garage to help us visualize the impact on the road. Next, please. This slide concludes my presentation. It is recommended that the minor variance application 2025-802 be approved, as the application meets the four tests of the Planning Act and conforms to or is consistent with applicable provincial, county, and township planning policies, and represents good planning. The recommended conditions are listed on this slide and the next slide. They are all standard conditions. Thank you, committee members. I'm available for any questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fan. I'll now ask Greg Kirkpatrick, who is registered to speak, whether he has any anything further to add to the staff presentation? Mr. Kirkpatrick, please. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Greg Kirkpatrick here, designer and project manager at Madison Taylor Design. I'm just here for support. I helped to design the proposed structure and assisted the owner of the property with the application for the minor variance. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to assist.
Thank you very much, sir. Committee members, any questions for staff or the applicant's agent? Seeing none, nor any of the streaming counselors. Is there any party registered to speak to this matter, Madam Deputy Clerk?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone here in chambers to speak to this matter? Seeing no one. Any further correspondence received during the course of the hearing?
No, nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we hear the motion for this application?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended, one, that DS 2025-015, Yuping Fan Planner Minor Variance Application 2025-A02, Soma 149 8 Mile Point Road be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2025-A02, specifically for permission to construct a detached accessory building, garage, with a reduced setback of 2.5 meters, 8.2 feet, from the front lot line and a reduced setback of 1.0 meters, 3.3 feet, from the interior side lot line on lands municipally known as 149 8 Mile Point Road, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2025-015. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much for that. Any question or comments with regard to the draft motion from the committee members? Okay, seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for your participation, and thanks for calling in, Mr. Kirkpatrick. A decision of the hearing will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written or oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. Thank you very much. With that, we proceed on to the reports of municipal officers. And firstly, may we please have a motion for item 7? Oh, we've dealt with that one. So we're moving on to item 7C. If there are any parties who are recused from this matter. May we have a motion for item 7C, please?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Young. It is recommended, one, that DS 2025-013, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, Minor Variance Application 2024-856, Crichton and Moulton, 360 Ingram Road, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A56, specifically for permission to build a detached accessory building with an increased height of 8.4 meters, 27.6 feet, increased floor area of 258.6 square meters, 2,784.0 square feet, and containing an apartment dwelling unit with an increased floor area for a garage and living space of 258.6 square meters, 2,784.0 square feet, on lands municipally known as 360 Ingram Road, Township of Oro-Medonte, be denied on the basis that the revised apartment dwelling unit location is not within close proximity to the existing single detached dwelling in accordance with the policies contained in the township's official plan. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Committee members, are there any questions with regard to the motion? Councillor Young?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just got one question for Ms. McCarroll. That being the previous location, or was that in fact approved I understand that there's been several applications submitted by the applicants here, and I understand that there was one that was approved. Is that correct?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Councillor Young, that is correct. Their previous minor variance application was approved.
Thank you very much. Any further comments or questions from committee members? Okay, seeing none. May I call the vote, please? All those in favor? Okay, the motion is carried. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we please have a motion for item 7E?
Sorry, my
Oh,
apologies.
sorry. Would you prefer to do D first?
D, would you like to do D?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Very much.
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Clark. It is recommended, one, that DS 2025-016, Andy Karaskakis, Manager Planning Services, removal of holding provision on Forest Heights Estates Plan of Subdivision, Plan 51M1246, application numbers 2025 CPA 01 to 2025 CPA 08 be received and adopted. 2, that draft bylaw number 2025-017 to remove the holding provision applying to a portion of the lands in the Forest Heights Estates subdivision, registered plan 51M1246, be considered by council. 3, that draft bylaw number 2025-017 to add the holding provision applying to a portion of the lands in the Forest Heights Estate subdivision, registered plan 51M1246, be considered by council. And 4, that the applicant be advised of the decision under Director of Development Services signature.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions with regard to the motion from the committee members? Okay, seeing none. May I call the vote, please? All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item E. May you please have the motion for item 7E?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Shell. It is recommended, one, that DS 2025-018, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, Reminor Variance Application 2024 A64, 3626 Line 5 North, Jingra, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024 A64, specifically to permit the use of a secondary accessory building for a home occupation on lands municipally known as 3626 Line 5 North, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2025-018. 3, that the applicants be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much for the motion. Any comments or questions with regard to the motion from members of the committee? Councillor Schell.
Here, my mic on. Yes, through you, Deputy Mayor, to Ms. McCarroll. Just for clarity,
Councillor Schell, your audio is breaking up. I'd recommend, since you're zooming in, maybe turn your camera off, and you have a little more bandwidth for the audio.
the joys of living in Oro-Medonte Township. Ms. McCarroll, it appears the woodshed is large enough to require a building permit. Was one ever issued by the township for that property?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie to Councillor Schell, they had obtained a zoning certificate and a building permit, and at that time it was classified as an agricultural building.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCarroll.
Okay. One other question, if I may. Has bylaw visited this site to confirm what is happening on the site is in compliance?
So
I guess that question.
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, I had discussions with the bylaw department and they have not been called out to the site.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Schell.
Well,
any further questions or comments with regard to this application? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All those in favor? All those opposed? Councillor Shell, are you voting?
I did vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your card. Maybe it was the.
I had my hand up. I don't have
Oh.
my cards here.
I think it was, sorry, must be my eyes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, with that, I believe it concludes the open session portion of the Development Services Committee meeting, and we're now going to go into closed session.
Okay.
Do we need?
If I may, Deputy Mayor, if I won't go into close.
Correct.
I'll just stay here.
Yes.
And then when you guys come back, you can call me on my phone.
Okay.
I have my phone here. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Do we need a procedural amendment to?
If a member of the public would like to speak regarding an agenda item, consent is required from the committee, and it's a 2/3 consent.
Can you stay present for the moment, please, Councillor Shell? May we have a motion to permit consent for comment with regard to a report?
It's not a formal motion. It would just be, you would just ask for consent from the committee members.
Okay.
And then depending on the number of people here, it would be a 2/3 vote for consent to allow a member to provide comments regarding agenda item.
Okay, thank you very much. May I call a vote on consent for Mr. Gingras to speak? So we have consent. Mr. Gingras, please. Yeah, could you please, approximately 2 minutes?
I won't be long at all.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you to the committee for letting me speak. I just wanted to say that it's been, we're very grateful for what staff has done. It's been a lot of back and forth. They put in a lot of time in helping find a mutually beneficial outcome to this minor variance. And if every minor variance was as comprehensive as this, they wouldn't get any sleep. So we're happy with the outcome, and we think that it's going to allow us to continue operating the way we have been. And again, I just want to thank the group here.
Thank you very much, sir, for your comments and for your participation in the process.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay, with that then, may I have a motion, please, to go into closed session?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended that we do now go into closed at 6:28 p.m. to discuss litigation affecting the municipality, solicitor-client privilege, short-term rentals, STRs.
Okay, thank you very much. When everybody please, oh, Councillor Shell, you have your hand up. Oh, we're voting to go in, of course. Okay. Thank you.
That's my vote.
Stay. The chair's not following the program, but thank you very much for your support. Okay.
Mr. Chair, we're live.
Oh, good. We're live, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. May we rise and report from the closed session, please?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that we do now rise at 7:02 p.m., at which time we shall report on closed session item 8C.
And may we have a motion for item 8C, please? Oh, I got to call the vote first? Okay, thank you. May I have a vote to rise, please? All those in favor? All those opposed? There are none opposed. Thank you very much. And a motion for 8C, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Clark. It is recommended that staff and legal counsel proceed as directed by council with respect to item 8C, Brent Spagnol and George Vedaboncourt, litigation affecting the municipality, solicitor client privilege, short-term rentals, STRs.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Thank you very much. My motion is carried. With that, the next meeting of the always scintillating Development Services Committee meeting is March 5th, so please tune in then. And may we have a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Bard. It is recommended that we do now adjourn at 7:03 p.m.
Thank you very much. All in favor? The motion is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Mayor Greenlaw, over to you for the council meeting following the Development Services Committee meeting.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. I'd like to call to order the council meeting after the Development Service meeting for Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. May we please have a motion to adopt the agenda, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that the agenda for the council meeting of Wednesday, February 5th, 2025 be received and adopted.
All in favor? That is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Okay, then we'll move on to, may we have a motion for the draft minutes of the previous council meeting, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that the draft minutes of the council meeting held on Wednesday, January 15, 2025 be received and adopted as printed and circulated.
Are there any changes to the draft minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. May we have a motion to approve the recommendations of tonight's DSC meeting, please?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that the recommendations of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, February 5th, 2025 be adopted.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do I need to separate item 8D from that because we had a disclosure of pecuniary interest on a couple of, there was 2 items within that meeting, so do we need to separate them?
If the member disclosed, then a separate motion would be required.
Okay. And there was no disclosure on this section of the meeting, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. May we have the motion for the draft bylaws, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that bylaw numbers 2025-011, 2025-012, and 2025-017 be read a first, second, and third time, passed, be engrossed by the deputy clerk, signed and sealed by the mayor.
Any questions with respect to the draft bylaws? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. May we have a motion for the confirmation bylaw, please?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-018, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on Wednesday, February 5th, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, be engrossed by the deputy clerk, signed and sealed by the mayor.
All in favor? That is carried. And may we have a motion to adjourn, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 7:06 p.m.
All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next week's council meeting.